Hello everybody, this is a little tips and tricks video how you can improve your custom maps for Pavlov check. Most maps suffer from pixelated textures and I show you how you can prevent this. We are here in Blender and I'm going to switch to the UV editing layout. As you can see, the face is completely in the middle of the UV space and doesn't go beyond the borders. This is perfectly fine. If your UV looks like this, it will look perfectly in check. But if I move now this edge and have correct face attribute enabled, you see the face goes far away from the UV tile. This means that the farther away it gets, the more pixelated it will be. For example, here at this point, it's still okay, but it's getting a little bit pixelated. Here it's getting more pixelated, and here even more pixelated. Now to build something like a wall, I recommend building it in tiles. So I have here this element. I turn off correct face attributes, and then I'm moving the whole element. Do this a few times, and as you can see, all elements are stacked on top of each other. This will look great in the quest, and you won't have any pixelation. The downside is that you're gonna have more faces, but in my experience, it's way better to have good looking textures than a few more faces. Since Unreal will create the light map UV from your UV map, it will result in some problems when you stack UV maps and you get overlappings when baking. For this, we create a new UV map, call it light map, and here we are going to use a normal unwrap. You can use in some cases Smart UV project, but I would always recommend using the default unwrap, and I recommend to merge all vertices so we don't have any duplicated vertices. And if you do it now unwrap, you get this strip. And here I can switch between UV maps, and now I can export the object. And I have here a preset for Unreal. That means the correct axes are already set up, and I also apply units and apply transform, and in the geometry section, smoothing is set to face. Let's hit export and switch to Unreal. Now when we import the mesh, make sure you have import materials disabled. Also, generate light map UV is disabled, and it's always good to use transform vertex to absolute. This means the object will be placed on the same place as you have it in Blender. Let's hit import, and let's assign the material. And now you can see we have here our light map UV, which is perfect aligned. And we have the default UV map, which stacks on top of each other. Let's drag it into the scene, reset the position, so it's on the same position in Unreal as in Blender, and it looks fine. There is also the option to use full position UVs, but in my experience, it doesn't do anything for Pavlov check, so you can enable it if you feel like, but in my opinion, it doesn't do anything and you can leave it disabled. Okay, let's use a little bit more complex setup. Here I have a bunch of crates, and it's always always recommended to have UV seams. You can see here the red lines. You can assign them when you press U on the keyboard and select Mark Seam. And with the seams, it will create the unwrap. For me, when I go to UV editing, you can see all the edges are stacked on top of each other to save UV space. And the side panels filling the complete space. When we select now the UV map, we select everything and press U and unwrap. And now we have the perfect unwrap. Always make sure that your scaling is applied. For example, if your scaling is off, make sure to press Ctrl A and apply the scale. So your unwrap will be in the correct aspect ratio. To pack a lot of objects, like here, I have a bunch of crates. They all have seams and normal UV maps and have a light map assigned. Now select all, and there's a little add-on. It's called Batch UV Tools. You can find it here. I link you the download page. And now we can select the light map and click Sync Active Map. Now every crate has the light map selected. So we can select everything, press U, unwrap, and now everything is unwrapped. For light maps, we have here a too close margin. So this will result in light baking problems. We could use light map pack. But in my experience, there will be a lot of light differences in the baking since the UV islands are not aligned to each other. So it's always better to make seams and do a manual unwrap, and then you have to pack the textures. You can use UV Packer. It's a free add-on. You can grab it from uv-packer.com. Here it is recommended to set a padding of 10. Then you can click on Pack and it will pack all the UVs together. If you want a little bit better tool, you can grab UV Packmaster free. It's my preferred tool. Here I use a margin of 0.02 and then also use heuristic search, and I click on pack, and now it's packing all the UVs with a big enough margin. Okay, with escape I cancel it. I can switch back, and now I can also export Now I can import it in Unreal. And I always want to check combine meshes. Okay, now I have here all my crates with the correct UVs. And when I look at the UV channel, at the light maps, everything looks fine. Drag it into the scene. Reset the location so I have the correct position. And when I press now Alt 0, I get the light map resolution. You can set the light map directly here in the details. I always choose some cyan colors, but you can also set the light map resolution directly here. Just enable override, and then you can just fine tune it as you like. Okay, that was it with the basics. And now I have a little bonus for you. Since I had to stack a lot of crates, unfortunately, I just got the idea after I finished it. I made a little add-on to place objects. For example, I have this grate here. I duplicate it, move it up, duplicate it more, move it up. This one, we can scale it a bit, apply the scale, and now we can just select drop. And now the crates will drop on each other. Pause the animation, press apply. This one we can delete. And now we have here perfectly stacked crates. And every time you change something, of course, you have to create the light map UV new. So set all to the light map UVs, UV editing, unwrap, and pack it. And if you do it like this, you always have some nice packages. So you have low mesh count, low draw call count, and it will bake very well. And with this method, there is guarantee that you have 0 overlaps when baking the lighting in Unreal. Yeah, that's it. I hope you learned something, and I'm looking forward for some nice maps.